Hi guys, my name's Charlene. I'm 20 years old and my roommates got way too close to each other. Check it out. I was moving out on my own for the first time. My friend and soon-to-be roommate, Stacy, was coming over any minute with her other roommate's truck. They had a spare room in an apartment not too far from the college I just transferred to. I was so excited I couldn't wait. But I was also sad because I was going to miss the farm. I grew up around my grandfather who inherited the farm from his father, and I always thought maybe one day I'd inherit it, which is why I was studying horticulture in the big city. It was successful for several generations, but land was starting to dry out, and business was expanding into the city. Just the other night, I overheard my dad on the phone, and he was explaining that the farm wasn't prosperous these days, and we were in danger of losing it. Apparently, city propositions would rather have a strip mall than a dried-up old blueberry farm. I wanted to save the farm, but what could I do? Anytime I talk to my parents, they tell me not to worry, but the farm was everything to me. It had my best memories, like learning from my grandfather. He'd tell me the most fantastic stories, and I didn't know if they were real or he was pulling my leg. But one day, he gave me a packet of blueberry seeds. He said they were magic and to plant them when the time was right. But how will I know? I asked. He said I would know if I listened carefully. He told me to always follow my heart, and I would know what to do. I kept the seeds in a heart-shaped box, and I couldn't look at them without thinking about that day. The day I was moving, I thought about planting them, but Stacy pulled up and reminded me of the hurry we were in. Her roommate Mason was there, and he helped us load the truck. Moving to the city and living on my own was so different. It was fun, but I felt a little cramped between Mason and Stacy. They were constantly arguing about who used more hot water or who ate all the ice cream. Then they created these house rules. You had to label all your food and not hog storage space. There was a timesheet for hot showers. But the worst was when I overheard Stacy and Mason arguing about me. He was complaining that he had to share a bathroom with me, while Stacy got the master bedroom with her own bathroom. But since I was her friend, he thought she should have to share the bathroom, and he should get the big room. I didn't like anybody fighting over me, and I missed home, so I went for a drive and got out of there. I brought the seeds with me thinking I could use a little magic. But when I got to the farm, there were some city officials sticking their noses around. They were zoning things off and conducting an inspection. Nobody was home, and I called my dad to let him know what was up. But he told me that things weren't doing so good, and it might be in everybody's best interest if we sold the farm. It didn't seem fair, and I wandered off among the blueberry bushes and thought about my grandfather's advice. I began to wonder what life would be like if the seeds were real. If there was ever a time, it was now. And I planted them, burying them in a bed along the fence. I told my dad he had to fight the city. He said he would, but didn't seem too hopeful. I went home to find the apartment taped off. There were lines and arrows taped onto the floor, and my roommates were fighting about who had more room. It was already cramped, and all this tape was making it worse. But then I noticed something funny. They were kind of flirting, Mason and Stacy. They were arguing about distance, but secretly they wanted to be closer. Well, the matchmaker and me tried to get them to see that they were really in love with each other. If they would just share a meal or watch a movie together, they'd see. So I had to find a way to trick them into a date. Normally, I'm not so into playing Cupid, but if they stopped fighting, maybe I'd have some peace and quiet. In the morning, my dad called and asked about the blueberries I planted. Apparently, my seeds caused some mutated berries. These bushes were actively growing to a monstrous size and sprouting massive blueberries. I thought of a way to get my roomies to share, and I took home a basket of some of the juiciest blueberries I'd ever seen. Nothing makes a stranger a friend like blueberry pie. And that afternoon, I baked a pie for all to share. I was hoping to get them to sit down and share a meal. But Stacy took a cut of the pie and was just like, yeah, whatever. And Mason said that he wasn't trying to make a truce, that he just wanted his own space. These blueberries were the juiciest you could imagine, and they stained my fingertips so bad I couldn't wash it off. That wasn't the strangest thing that happened that night, though. I was woken up by wild screaming. I flipped on the light. Stacy was on the ground. And then Mason appeared rubbing his eyes. We tried to help, but Stacy yelled at Mason to get back on his side of the tape. Stacy started to turn blue, and she was beginning to inflate. It started in her extremities. Her toes and fingers looked like round berries, and her nose was blowing up. She was growing in size and knocking around the furniture. Neither Mason nor I could believe what was happening. I tried to hold her hand to help, but she told me to stay back. She thought she was going to burst like a gusher if I touched her. Her color was turning a deeper shade of blue. She was rolling around on her stomach. I remembered the giant blueberry bush on the farm and my grandfather's strange seeds. But they weren't really magic. My grandfather's stories were just made-up tales, a hogwash to keep us entertained as kids. I was doubting myself, but Mason didn't think it was the pie because he ate a piece in the middle of the night. He was going on about how he would know if something was wrong. But just then, his face turned blue, and he began inflating into a big, squishy blueberry himself. I thought I was dreaming, but they both just kept growing, and I almost couldn't breathe. My roommates were now 2 giant blueberries inflating from wall to wall, squishing me in between. I got out to breathe and drove to the farm. I had to see my grandfather and ask him about the seeds. He was devastated, but it was mostly about selling the farm. He seemed to know something strange was happening because he spoke to me in this cryptic manner. He'd say, "Some things are drying up, but other things are juicy." I asked him about the magic seeds, and he kept up the charade. He said that the seeds were as magical as anything else, and to follow my heart. I was hoping for some magic recipe to fix it, but instead, I had to figure out a riddle. But I could barely think because my stained fingertips started growing blueberries. They were inflating up, and if I squeezed them too hard, they'd burst and grow new berries. When I got home, they were arguing, and things were worse than before. They were both blown to full size, and I thought for sure one was going to burst any minute. Their tiny heads and miniature flapping hands were shaking about, but their big blueberry bellies made them helpless. So all they could do was bicker and bounce around. They filled up almost the whole apartment with their blueberry bodies. I tried to close my eyes and cover my ears, and deep down inside, I heard my grandfather's advice. Listen to your heart. Inside, I knew I couldn't fix their giant inflated bodies, nor could I fix my blueberry fingers. But I could help with their relationship. But it meant I had to share my opinion. I told them that they were both right and to stop arguing. If there was a way out, we were going to find it, together, not apart. I said that the solution to the bedroom was simple. I suggested we all share the master bedroom, trading it every 4th month. And I suggested we share grocery bills. They were surprised and quit arguing, thinking it over. But while they were thinking, my fingers began to deflate, and the blueberry tips turned back into fingers. Immediately, I felt better. And then Mason said he had something to get off of his chest. He admitted that he had a crush on Stacy, and he was angry at me when I moved in because I was going to ruin their romance. And he took it out on Stacy. He said it felt great to get it off of his chest, and he began to deflate. Stacy was surprised by Mason's feelings. He asked for her forgiveness, and the minute she gave it to him, she began to deflate as well. Getting things off our chest diminished everything. Mason and Stacy realized their love, and now they wanted to share the couch all the time. Things felt better, but my heart wasn't done talking. I learned one of the most important lessons. You can't hold things in. You have to share, and that includes your space, and that includes your thoughts. Just be sure they're kind. After all, sharing is caring. Sometimes the closer you are to somebody, the easier it is to be impatient and bicker. But the real way to get more for yourself is to give it away to others. Things are better in the apartment now, but I was still worried about the farm. Mason developed this theory that the blueberries might be key to saving it. And he and Stacy helped me turn blueberry juice into a new fertilizer that brought the farm back to life. His theory was right, and soon it was lush and filled with plentiful berries that brought profit back to the family and saved the farm from becoming a strip mall. Do you believe in magic? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.